Okay, on the last episode of the VX, we had her sent over to A1 Automotive at Tarrant Point to get engine dynoed. She came back with 553 rear wheel horsepower, naturally aspirated. We're pretty happy with those numbers. We've got her back, we've installed her in the car, and she's getting ready now to go over to Northmead Auto to get chassis dynoed. So, exciting stuff. We've called the tow truck, so he should be here very shortly, hopefully, and keen to see what kind of numbers it makes with the blower on it. Right, let's go. Okay, she's back from dyno. Made 950 rear wheel horsepower on 21 psi. We've got it up on the hoist now. We're pulling the wheels off because at the moment she's sitting way too low. We didn't adjust the coilovers before she went, and all the traveling on the truck and dyno and the springs sagged, so they're hanging down too low. So Tobes is pulling them off now. We're going to adjust the coilovers. So we've taken the wheel off, and what we've found is that the inside's touching the inside of the rim.
Yep.
So we're just going to massage that in slightly.
Yeah.
We did.
We sectioned out here and brought this section in towards it, shortening the rail in. But yeah, we never really touched up here. Partly because we didn't expect it to be this low, which we are going to raise it up, so that'll come down a lot closer here. We'll probably just still need to massage this for when it goes over bumps.
Yep.
Because it's obviously still going to compress over bumps.
Probably that section too. Maybe just here.
This should be okay here.
And it's also just touching on the inside.
Up here. There's not a lot. That could be pan hard rod adjustment though.
Yeah, 100%. It's obviously because the car was so low as well, so we're going to lift it up a little bit and adjust these springs.
Yeah, now I've already been under the car having a bit of a look around, and one thing I have noticed is this location just here, as the diff goes up and down, this just here will open and close up as this bush pivots. So we're going to give that a little clearance in here on both sides so it can pivot in here. And the other thing we've noticed is our tail shaft does touch slightly on the floor, just on this front edge here. We can see just a little mark here on the shaft. That may be okay once we lift it up, but again, because the suspension does travel, we are going to try and just massage the floor up a fraction right where the tail shaft sits. Other than that, there's no hitting here where we've cut out for the control arms. And I don't think I see anywhere else where it hits. Oh yeah, it's hitting up here. So we'll that will probably be taken care of when we lift it up.
Yeah, when it's higher, that won't
because
touch.
it's only just touched one of them by the look of it. Realistically, at the end of the day, if we do find that any of these are touching once we get it at the right height we're happy with, like if we have to recut anything out, we can do that. It's not a big issue. I already started to play around with this side earlier on the ground, before I realised we need to do a few extra things. So we're just going to take the actual complete coilover bracket off. So that's all tightened up. Small amount of clearance. Doesn't need to be a huge amount. That's plenty of clearance for what we want to do. That just means as it comes down and up, that the movement in here doesn't hit on this front corner. So we're going to do the same thing to the other side. As you can see, it's not a lot, but it is a gap, and it just means that there's no binding there in that joint when it goes up and down over bumps. So that's what we want. Alright, that's up 10 mil plus what we've gone up in the bracket here. Alright, they're both sitting at the same height now. So we'll bring it down, we'll put the wheels back on, bring it down, and we'll have a look at the height, see where we're at. Right, the other thing we need to look at is the damping on the rear shocks. We haven't really adjusted them at all. The Viking coilovers come with a little table. Obviously we're looking at the rear. So you've got the rebound and compression knobs. So you've got a comfort, handling, autocross, drag, less than 600, drag, more than 600, 900, drag, 900 to 900 plus. So more than likely, I'd say we're going to be starting off with the handling setting. So we're going to go 6 to 8 turns on the compression and 8 to 12 on the rebound. See how that feels, and then we'll go from there. Since we are up around the higher horsepower levels, we might start to look at the autocross settings. And then if we go racing, obviously we'll be looking at the drag race settings. So I'm just going to adjust those now. See, we've got them set on 0. So for the compression, we want 6 to 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just go straight to 8. On the rebound, 8 to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we'll try that out. That's on our handling settings. We'll do that both sides, and we'll see how that goes on a road test.
So she's back down on the ground. We've adjusted the coilovers. We've probably moved it about 10 mil. Hopefully that'll be enough. It was only just touching and scrubbing in certain places under the car. So we've lifted it up that 10 mil. So we think that should be enough. We're going to take it for a drive, make sure it feels right and it doesn't make any noise and it doesn't rub and scrub. Then we'll probably come back and have a look at the floor where it's just slightly touching that tail shaft and see if we can lift it up a little bit, or maybe massage it out of the way of the tail shaft. So we're going to go do that now, and hopefully everything's perfect. It's
been a while since I've driven a T5 or T56.
Okay, so we pulled the throttle body off the car. Toby's going to have a look at trying to fix it, because when we were pulling up to lights, it was starting to idle high, all the way up to 2000 RPM. When we were rolling, it was like we were in cruise control. So he took the foot off the accelerator, but it kept pulling forward. We weren't sure what it was. Toby has an idea it got something to do with the shaft, but he's going to pull it apart, have a look at it, and see if it works, because it's the car's so loud as it is, it's very hard to sneak up to the lights without it revving at 2 grand and everyone looking at you. So we'll try and figure out what it is, and hopefully it'll work.
Alright, as you just heard Jimmy explaining, we've had the car running, been driving it around a little bit, and it's had some idling issues, particularly like pulling up to traffic lights or wherever, and the idle's staying high. Now, this is the second engine build with a 102mm throttle body. The first one was a fast big mouth throttle body. Now, it always had jamming problems where it was sticky, and we always assumed that the welding around the face of it had something to do with warping the body or something. A few people that had a look at it couldn't really figure it out. So we ended up, for this build, we ended up getting another 102mm throttle body. This is just from a local supplier, Faber Australia, and I was swapping everything over, put the TPS on, and when you tighten the TPS down, lock the shaft up again. Well, not locked it up, but made it sticky. So I took it off and thought, well, the shaft must be too long. So hand filed the shaft until I got the TPS to sit down nicely and not jam the shaft up. Everything's fine. Goes to the tuner, sets the idle, all that kind of stuff, and comes back, we start driving it, and as Jimmy explained, we start having these idling issues. So I start thinking about it, talk to the tuner, and he says, look, this is what the voltage has got to be. I think he said 0.45 as a minimum at 0%. And I think we were down around 0.05 or something like that. Yeah, well under spec. And that was causing issues with the computer. We were also having an engine light come on with the Commodore, and it was saying low voltage for the TPS. So, as the tuner suggested, he suggested elongate the holes in the TPS so you can get some adjustment, adjust it, and to get to the minimum reading, and then it should be alright. So I've done that, filed the holes out, and got it all adjusted. We take it for a drive, and it's fine at first, then starts playing up again. So I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on here. Start doing some research online, can't find a great deal, even though lots of people seem to be having this problem. And it seems to be particularly with the above 100mm throttle bodies for some reason. So start looking at it, and I think the best thing to do is to compare it to a standard throttle body. So believe it or not, you wouldn't think it, but it's harder to track down a standard throttle body for an LS1 than you think, because obviously ours is an early model, LS1 has to have the cable throttle. We eventually tracked one down, and I started comparing the shaft ends to for the TPS, and started to notice a difference straight away. This is the shaft out of the fast throttle body. What I actually noticed is the distance here that's machined the flat for the TPS to sit on was actually shorter on the aftermarket throttle bodies. So I presumed straight away that it wasn't actually bottoming out here. It was actually the TPS bottoming out on this shoulder in here. Now, we've had this shaft machined down now. And I'll see if I can show you where it's machined. can see the silver machined off shoulder there. That's what we've machined off. Just in here. So that's really the only difference I could find that could potentially cause a problem. Now, I haven't put this back together yet. You know, it may not be the problem, it might be the problem. If it is, I couldn't find it anywhere online where anyone spoke about the shafts being shorter in the TPS area. So I don't know, maybe it's just something I've discovered, or maybe just no one talks about it. The tuner seems very interested to know what's been causing the problem. And before anyone jumps, yes, we have put new TPS sensors on it. And I know it is quite well known that aftermarket throttle body has a tendency to eat TPSs. Now, I don't see why it should. But, you know, this is what I've found so far. So we've actually decided to put the fast throttle body back together. Just we noticed a couple of differences between the shaft on the locally bought one and the fast one that we weren't real happy with. So the fast shaft is the one that we had machined to meet up with the standard shaft. So we'll put that back together and hopefully it's going to solve our problems. So I've blocked off the little breather tube that's pressed in here. It's normally pressed in. Just block it off and actually run a little, there's enough meat there to run a little thread in there, Loctite it in so it can't come out. Just tidies things up a little bit. Where I believe I found a problem where we've machined the shoulder bigger on the shaft, so hopefully that's going to fix a problem for us. So you can see my TPS just pushes all the way on by hand. Right, after that, put our TPS on. This is the TPS that I filed the holes out with, so we've got some adjustment. If it works, we're probably going to get another new one. This was a new one already, but obviously we're doing this, so we did still have problems. So I'm just going to leave that slightly loose because I'm going to have to check the adjustment via the voltages on it. They're left slightly loose so you can still adjust it, just like that. Throttle plate's still nice and free. Idle control motor on, we've blocked that one off. Make sure your screws are nice and tight and Loctite it in. and that your spring has tension on it. And we're going to put this back on and adjust the voltage with the TPS. There you have it. We've got our throttle body back together. TPS is on, still loose, so we can adjust it and get the right voltage. A lot of control motors on there. Screws are in, Loctited. Nice clearance around there, which you can see when you hold it up to the light. Make sure you've got preload on your spring here. Your grub screw here is tightened on the flat of the shaft, and make sure that that can push all the way down by hand. You can see at the moment that there's no binding on the shaft, which is what was happening with the unmachined shaft. So we'll get this back on the car now and might take it for a rip and see what it's like. Now, we've been told by the tuner 0.45 of a volt at 0% is your absolute minimum. We're currently at 0.61, which is fine. I'm going to nip those up and we'll see what it's like at full throttle and go from there. We've got to let the system power down properly, otherwise it's just going to take that 1% as 0 and it all plays up. That's when you start having your throttle issues. So this should reset the percentage to 0 with the voltage reading that we've got in there. So we'll plug it all back in and we'll see. So we've got our within range voltage and we're at 0% throttle. So we'll check it at full throttle now. We've got 4.53 at 100% throttle, which is quite within range. And when we go back to, when we're back to throttle right off, we're back to 0 and we're back to the same voltage within the 0.6s. The important thing is that it comes back to 0% and comes back to the voltage that you basically set it at to start with. So the next thing now really is to probably take it for a rip and see how it goes. Hopefully we don't have this idling issue where it wants to keep driving the car, like Jimmy was explaining earlier. And yeah, that'll make the car a lot more drivable and a lot more pleasant to drive. The engine idle speed, that's cold at the moment. It will come down when it warms up, but you can see our throttle position is still 0. Our throttle position sensor voltage is still right in that bottom of 0.6. Back to 0 and coming back to that same voltage when we blip the throttle. So at the moment it's looking good. You can see now the car has warmed up, the idle's come down. We've still got those same voltage readings and percentage readings. Still coming back to 0, still coming back to that 0.6 volts. A bit hard to see, but you get the idea. It won't focus on the screen for some reason. The problem we're having is that the idle stays high until we come to a complete stop. We can see that the voltage voltages and the percentage of the throttle are fine, so that throttle shaft mod fixed that issue. The strange thing is we have a low traction control light on the dash now, since it was tuned. This car didn't even come with traction control from factory, so a little not sure why it's on there. It's something we're going to have to talk with the tuner about. I have read that traction control can cause some idle control issues, but don't really know if it's actually causing an issue in our situation. Yeah, it's more investigation. I think it's what's planned. So at this stage, the car seems to be going well. The voltages for the TPS seem to be staying right. The only issue we seem to have is that the idle still stays a bit high until the car actually comes to a stop. Now, I'm not too sure, really. Like, if there's something with the management system with traction control or anything like that. So it's something that I've got to keep looking at. Our voltages seem to be staying good though, so I'm pretty confident that mod with the shaft is fixed the TPS issue. It's just a matter of do we still have another underlying idle issue? I'm not sure. So we just have to look at that.
So we've still got the problem with the idle. It seems to be high. It doesn't matter if I'm rolling in reverse or if I'm rolling forward. It jumps up to about 2100 RPMs. When I'm driving and you take your foot off the clutch, it seems to pull forward like it's in cruise control because that idle's sitting high. Not sure why. It only drops down when you come to a dead stop. We pulled the throttle body off. Toby pulled it apart, made some adjustments to the shaft of it. The TPS we changed for a new one because it seemed to be broken. It didn't feel right, so we got a new one. Put it back on, went for a drive, and as you saw pulling in here, it still idles high. So don't know what to do about that. If anybody has that problem or they've had that problem out there, can you let us know what you came up with or how they fixed it, or give us an idea of what you think might be happening to it. We're running out of ideas. The only other thing is maybe in the tune, I believe the rolling idle in the tune was about 1500-1600. I don't know if that's having an effect on it or if it's too high. But other than that, yeah, it's a bit annoying, but we'll get to the bottom of it. So if you know, leave some messages in the show notes for us, and hopefully we can get this problem fixed. So, but other than that, very happy with the car, happy with the horsepower, happy with how it rides now after adjusting the coilovers. Basically very happy, except for that one small problem. So appreciate all the support and all the messages. Thank you for watching our videos. Hopefully you're enjoying them. Leave us some comments down the bottom, or any questions or any answers if you've got any for us about the throttle body. So okay, so if you haven't already subscribed and liked, please do so. Helps the channel out, helps us get where we want to go. If you haven't seen the progress of the VX, there's a bunch of videos you can go back and have a look at, see where it's come from and where it is now. Hopefully that thing gets fixed shortly, because we'd love to go for a drive without the high idling and scaring everybody because it's so loud when it idles that high. So, all right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Revamp.